Okay, you can see how all the cedar trees are just like they're coping with the drought in exactly the same
Oh,
way. Yeah, yeah, and so you look and they look like they're um I'm trying to think of a way to describe it, right? But you look at the tree and then there's like
mm-hmm.
e- these equal dead little branches throughout the entire tree. And so clearly like the tree reached the point where it could no longer hold on to its water and now it's starting to abandon bits and pieces of the tree to focus the the life in the rest of the tree. But a cedar tree
No.
is can absolutely regrow from anything. Like, there are other kinds of trees like the fir trees. If you cut off a fir branch, like that's that. Like you can't trim if you have a hedge of fir trees and you trim the hedge too hard, then you've just got an open spot in your hedge and it will never come back. But on but with cedar trees, they'll regrow like crazy. So
Yeah,
so
yeah,
this will all recover, but it sort of shows you where things are at now.
yeah.
Just
I
this
live in
year.
the land of everything grows constantly.
Yeah, yeah. So like you'll have rain in the middle of summer, right?
We have we have water falling from the sky in various formats year round, and it's
Mm-hmm.
currently 88% humidity.
Mm-hmm. So you never get like you don't have. I mean, you must have a dry season, but not
You
in the
would
sort of the
think.
same way that we do.
So,
Yeah.
August we only get thunderstorms.
Right.
So we don't get like the days upon days of steady drizzle that
Mm-hmm.
we get the rest of the time. Um, yeah, so the crazy thing is some years are a lot colder here than other years, and when that happens, it can drizzle snow for days. So it's just
Hmm.
like this constant mist of snow coming down, and it's never quite enough to cover the grass, which is really how much snow you want. You want either zero
Yeah.
or hide the grass, nothing in between.
Right. Yeah.
And it just drizzling snow is wrong on so many levels.
Yeah. So like people think about like the Pacific Northwest and they think it's just this place that rains nonstop,
Mm-hmm.
but it's not true. I mean, we get
Yeah.
the rain from like we're a lot more like a place like Costa Rica
Yeah.
where the rain will fall for uh 6 months of the year and then the rain will stop and then it's just
Yeah.
gone and then it's just dry every single day and then
Yeah.
6 months later the rain returns with a little bit of a shoulder season. So for us, in beginning late September, early October, the rain returns and it just rains and rains
Mm-hmm.
and rains and rains and rains and rains, like rains to the point that you never want to see another drop of rain. And then starting in like March, April, beginning of May, the rain starts to
Mm-hmm.
taper away and then it's just gone. And then you just have day after day after day of sun and everything, like all of our
Oh,
lawns dry out, all of our plants die. The garden requires like you can't have a garden in the Pacific Northwest without having to rain or having to water it. Like it just like it doesn't exist. Like you see people who are like, oh, decide whether or not you water the garden this week. You water the garden every single day because if you don't, your garden will die. That's how it works here.
and we get
Um,
volunteer pumpkins that will eat the entire yard.
and like yeah, so
Yeah.
you can have a volunteer pumpkin growing somewhere nearby
Mm-hmm.
that is having no care, and
Mm-hmm.
it will if you have a pretty good year, you're going to have a giant pumpkin garden, right?
Yeah,
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 yeah, you can't have that here.
yeah.
Like
No, we can even
pumpkin,
have volunteer tomatoes. Uh, Luckily the groundhogs have been preventing that for us.
right?
But yeah, yeah. I
That's cool.
I didn't have time to deal with our yard this year, and the weeds are taller than I am.
Yeah. So Mrs. Nat is saying, living on Vancouver Island, I call September second spring. Everything comes alive again after the summer drought. That's exactly it. So
Yeah, we
so
have
we
the
have
same.
two springs. We have March through May, and then we have September and October. And so everything gets green again. Everything you have this quick burst of growth, and then everything gets cold, and all the leaves turn yellow, and so on. But and we're in that second spring right now.
Yeah, we will get 2 weeks where it is over 30. This year we got more than 2 weeks. We'll usually get 2 weeks that are over 30 Celsius in August, and everything turns brown as a life preservation method, except for the
Mm,
local stuff that just keeps growing, and the
yeah.
grapes, and the grapes.
All right. Are you ready?
As ready as I'm going to be.
Okay.
Hold on. Okay, so I need to press record in that window and make sure it's working. Come on,
I am
you
also
can
recording.
record. Are you recording? I'm not sure it's recording. It did nothing. Are you recording? Dear software,
How about
why
now?
are you... I clicked it. It did nothing. Let's try it one more time. Hello, record. You're not recording. Okay, I'm going to quit this software. I'm going to quit a bunch of other things.
I will
One
delete my
or more
recording.
files is actively processing jobs, and it won't let me kill the software. Okay, I have other ways to kill software. You're gonna die, Audition. You're gonna die. Why did you open a second time? That is not the same thing as dying. Oh, it's a crash report. Okay. Why are you still
So
open?
Brooke Mulligata says the stream started 20 seconds ago for me. What happened? Looks like they were already talking. Yeah. So the way this works
Yeah.
is we start the hangout and then we start talking, and at some point Pamela clicks the button and we're live. But like we just start chatting with each other. So
Yeah.
that's how this works.
And I'm just currently trying to figure out why my computer is full of hate and zombie processes. Okay.
We have a patron only RSS feed, right? For Astronomy Cast.
Yes.
It's enabled.
Yes.
Okay. All right.
Yes.
All right. I'm going to pitch that for in the beginning. Okay. And it's the full. It's no ads. And is it the full show, or we don't have the extra stuff at the show?
It doesn't
It's
have
the
the
full.
extra stuff. It's the
Okay. All
30
right.
minutes, but yeah, no ads.
Okay. Technical support.
Okay, let's see if I press record. I'm going to check the hardware settings to make sure those are healthy before I press record, in case that was the
Make sure
problem.
it's the right device.
Yeah, that's what I'm doing. Hello. Okay, it's totally happy now.
Okay. I'll press record now as well.
And pressing record on the video. All the recording is recording. We are good.
Okay. Here we go. Astronomy Cast, episode 691. Jupiter. All right. Astronomy Cast, episode 691. Jupiter's changing red spot. Welcome to Astronomy Cast, our weekly facts-based journey through the cosmos. We help you understand not only what we know, but how we know what we know. I'm Fraser Cain. I'm the publisher of Universe Today. With me, as always, is Dr. Pamela Gay, a senior scientist for the Planetary Science Institute and the director of CosmoQuest. Hey, Pamela, how you doing?
I am doing well, and I am pleased to share that the other podcast I do, Escape Velocity Space News, is actually up for a Signal Award in Science Education.
Right
We
on.
somehow beat Astronomy Cast, which is deeply confusing, but this means we're also up for a People's Choice Award. So if you go to vote.signalaward.com and look under Science and Education, please vote for Escape Velocity Space News, please, please.
Yes. And prove that it's not a popularity contest. It's all what's best. So just before we get into this week's episode, I just want to let everybody know that, because we have salaries for people to pay, we have to have sponsorships.
Yeah.
But we have a way, like if you don't want to hear any ads and you want to support the work that we do directly, we also have a Patreon. So if you go to patreon.com/astronomycast, you will get access to our episodes ad free. So you can have a special secret URL that you can subscribe with your podcatching app, and you can get those episodes without any ads. And so you can just support the work we do and get the benefit of that. Plus, you get access to the office hours when Pamela will chat with people and other good stuff. So go to patreon.com/astronomycast and sign up. Jupiter's Great Red Spot is one of its most iconic features. First seen hundreds of years ago, although it's certainly long-lasting, it's been changing in size over the last few decades, shrinking and changing in color. Is it fading away? And what can the changes tell us about storms on giant planets? And we will talk about it in a second, but it's time for a break. And we're back. So, have you seen Jupiter's Great Red Spot? Like, when did you first see it in a telescope?
The first time I saw it with my eyeballs would have been when I was in elementary school somewhere, because my parents got me one of those like 4-inch Sears Thanksgiving Day sales, not really good, but good enough
Right.
telescopes.
Right, the one that we tell
And
people never to buy.
never buy that. I speak from personal experience. Um, and I use that telescope to look at everything except for Andromeda, because I could never find Andromeda. Like, the pain of growing up was my inability to find that galaxy.
I
I
wonder though
had
if
other
you had
paints.
not dark enough skies, because
I
for
didn't
me it
have
was
dark
easy.
enough skies. Yeah.
Yeah. So for me it was easy. Like you would sort of squint your eyes a little bit and then look in the sky, and then when you noticed a sort of fuzzy spot, that was Andromeda.
Yeah, I lived in a suburb of Boston.
Yeah. Yeah, and I
Didn't
had,
know.
I lived in the borderly skies that you could have.
So I could like see the square of Pegasus, but not the legs. And I had to sort of do the, am I really sure I'm saying it for the square? And I could totally see Cassiopeia. And I was like, between these two. It is between these
Right.
two.
Yeah, your star
But
shimmying. Yeah.
yeah, yeah. So I saw all of the planets inward of Saturn and Saturn growing up. Um, but then I think the time I finally like actually cared about seeing it, because like most of the time you look at Jupiter and it's like, yeah, 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 let's go into other things. Saturn. But the first time I really looked was the summer of Shoemaker Levy 9, where like you could see the dark spots created by that impacting comet as the world rotated. And I was a summer student out at Kitt Peak, and a bunch of amateurs had come up the mountain with their like 12-inch and 16-inch telescopes. And the skies were good enough that with a eyepiece that was just a few millimeters, you could see the dark spots next to the big old red spot. And it was kind of awesome. It was really awesome. What about you?
Yeah. Well, so I bought my first telescope when I was 14, and it was so it wasn't a Dobsonian, but it was a Newtonian, and I did it right. Like it was a
Yeah.
nice proper Newtonian, and the first set of lenses that I got with it, they weren't very, or the first eyepieces, they weren't very high magnification,
Yeah.
and so you could definitely see Jupiter. You could see the bands on the planet. You could see the moons. You could see the rings of Saturn. You could see the craters on the moon, and then a lot of deep sky objects look great. And then I bought a Barlow lens, which
You're you just
made me
froze.
see anything. But of course, Barlow doesn't increase the light gathering capacity of your telescope, but it does allow you to see objects that are very bright with more fidelity, able to make out the Cassini division on Saturn, the craters, and able to see Titan, Saturn, and I was able to see the Great Red Spot. And the on
That's
having that Barlow lens, you see the higher.
that is awesome. Your
Did I
internet
lose?
is terrible right now. Um,
Let me
so
just
I
check.
know it's recording locally. Um,
Yeah.
from Barlow lens forward,
Let me
everything
just
is
see a my speed
gobbledygook,
test.
and you're very, very pixelated, and I'm on fiber.
So I'm getting 200. So maybe it's better now.
Yeah, but now you're
I'm
totally out
getting
of sync.
200 megabits per second. Do you want me to return or
Shoot, and now our connection to Twitch just went
do you want me to
dead.
go in?
So this. Okay, so we are now green to Twitch. This may be something external to my house between us and the internet. Yeah, exit and come back, and I'm going to run a speed test on my end.
Okay.
Thank you for your patience, everyone. I have no idea what just happened to all of our connections. Now you look shiny and crisp. Well, not
Okay.
shiny. You just look orange and crisp.
I wonder. I think it's whatever it was that if it dropped you off Twitch, then I think that's where it's coming from. Somewhere upstream.
Yeah, it's
Because our
definitely
internet's fast
upstream.
right now.
Yeah, and I'm showing 800 down, 900 up, so not it.
Yeah.
All right.
Okay.
So go back to
So we sorry. So we
Barlow.
talked about we talked about the great. Okay, sorry. So we talked about our observations of the Great Red Spot, but we were not the ones who discovered it. So when did astronomers first see the Great Red Spot on Jupiter?
This is actually something of remarkably more debate than I thought it would be. Galileo's telescope was kind of terrible, but we know he spent a lot of time looking at Jupiter because he was tracking the motions of its moons and basically figuring out that things orbit around more than just the sun. He didn't record anything that definitively says he saw the Great Red Spot. So it's a great question mark of did he or didn't he? It probably was spotted for the first time where it was like definitively recorded around 1665, and then it was Robert Hooke who was doing all of the work. He started looking at it at 1664, recorded it, studied it, and 1665 was the year he was like, there is a spot. It's been constantly observed since the 1870s. And it's that constant observation that allows us to finally start to understand this sucker has changed. But the fact that it was seen in 1665, it was seen in 1713, it was seen in the 1800s, leads us to believe that it's probably the same anticyclonic giant storm that's been there the whole time. But there is, just to leave all scientific possibilities open, because we're going to talk good research here, well, it has probably been there the entire time since the 1660s and may have been there since Galileo. Because of gaps in observation, we can really only say definitively that it's been there since, depending on who you want to follow, either the 1800s or the 1700s.
Right. All right, we're going to talk about this some more, but it's time for a break. And we're back. And this is important.
Yeah.
Because we know that it changes.
Yes.
And in fact, it's changed quite a lot in the last couple of decades. And so the big question is, how long has this storm been on Jupiter? If we know for sure, because like at some point Saturn lost its ears. The ears turned into rings, which is weird, but you know. So if Galileo had
You froze. Hello? 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 I'm going to screen capture this because what I see is deeply amusing. Not useful, but
Reference
deeply amusing. I
some.
now have your audio. Um, you were gone there for a while. Do we want to try this tomorrow? You are frozen again. Totally frozen.
I'm back. Okay,
I
let
hear
me.
your audio hit or
I'm going to leave and
miss.
come back.
Yeah.
Okay.
Oh, Broken. We don't know if he couldn't see it, if he didn't record it because he only saw hints of it. Okay, you are back and you are crisp again. If this
Okay.
happens one more time, we're trying again tomorrow.
Well, I mean, the audio recording, I mean, this just means more work for Richard, but
Yeah, but if I can't hear you, it's really hard to record. You have frozen again, sir.
oh,
Okay, you are now in a less
uh,
good position to have
uh,
frozen.
uh,
This is where I send you a screenshot because dear internet, what are you doing to me? They would be truly great emotes. I'm going to take this moment to promote while you wait. Please go vote for Escape Velocity Space News at bit.ly EVSN Signal Awards 2023. I'm going to see if I can find YouTube to drop the link in. The folks on Twitch have the link. We. And the little piggies said we all the way home. Joys. Okay, so I now have dropped the link into the YouTube stuff and things. You can vote once per email address. Once per email address. Hi, ask me questions. Help me fill the space. This is very awkward. Very, very awkward. And I now want to know what is in the top center bookshelf thing. I just see a black square on what looks like an unknown object. And now I want to know what the black square is on. I swear I put a link in. Let me try that again. Did it not let me link? So there's a link coming in from Pamela Gay on YouTube. I have put the link in over on Twitch. What do I want to learn from the OSIRIS-REx sample? Can we identify chunks of different known asteroid families that would indicate that Bennu is made of pieces of multiple things that collided? I would love to know an aging glass of Guinness. That could be it. Yeah. Last I saw, CQ was leading in the voting. That's awesome. That is absolutely awesome. So Brooke says, just let you know, ever since I started following your astronomy cast in 2011, I never had opportunity for telescope back in Ethiopia. Oh, that's frustrating. Moved to Canada and immediately got in contact with local amateur astronomy club and had my first star party a few weeks ago. That is amazing. Saturn can make people cry. That is a known and regular reaction. And Fraser is having difficulty. Um, Let me see if I can redo the connection on my end and make things better. Grump, 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 grump. All right, working on start session. Create session, click to copy, hit OK, give link to Fraser, stare at screen. So Fraser's internet connection was not pleasing. He was becoming boxes and then stopping, and yeah, all the things I normally do happened to his internet this time. All right, so I now have Fraser back. Let me add Fraser back in. Can you move so I know you're moving? Yes, I see your eyes moving. Okay, so I'm adding him back into the setup. This will take me just a moment, everyone. So sorry. Yeah, so we have to record 2 episodes this week because I'm getting my gallbladder out next Monday, which is an unfortunate reality. So the question becomes, do we want to say, F it, answer a whole lot of questions, and then record this episode and the next episode later in the week?
I don't care. Let's see.
Let's do that because I feel like right now, if we don't start from scratch, we're going to have a terrible episode.
Okay, sure.
All
So
right.
I'm free. Okay, well, we'll coordinate afterwards, but I'm free all
Okay.
day Wednesday and Thursday
Wednesday's
morning.
perfect. Okay.
Okay. Yeah. Well, then I'm just going to stop this recording, and it will
Yeah,
never,
same.
and nobody will ever hear it.
Oh, God.
20 minutes.
The first time you
Garbage.
froze up, it was a glorious, you just looked so happy. And the second time, you looked like a really unfortunate. I will give you a screen copy of the good time, too.
That's yeah. I don't need either one.
Yes, but I'm
It is
enjoying passing them to you anyways.
it is always cursed, right? Like, come on. Anytime you get caught mid, frozen on 1 millisecond.
Yeah.
Yeah, bring it then. Bring it, people.
All right. What are your questions?
So we did a shareholders meeting for Universe Today patrons. So we let people
Oh, that's
ask
a
their
cool way of
questions.
thinking it.
Yeah, yeah. And so I sort of like talk about like what we're focusing on with the company and sort of what my current
Mm-hmm.
obsession is. And we got about 50, 60 questions. Like, we just kept rolling. So we did them all. So it's like 2.5 hours long. And this was in the patron feed, which was a lot of
Mm-hmm.
fun. Um, what was I gonna? Oh no, I had something really interesting I was gonna say. Talking about patrons, no patron
The
feed.
Twitch chat has decided that Frozen Fraser is a happy Lego head.
No, I had some news you could use. I had something valuable, and now it's gone. It'll come back to me. Oh, I hate that. I hate that you have something like pop in your brain and then you're like, oh, gone.
Third Rock Astronomy is giving me horror stories about having their gallbladder out. But hey, weight loss may be possible.
So John Suffield asks, is there any way that a white dwarf can become a regular star again if it is hit by a large dust cloud?
So a white dwarf can go back to being a normal star again. That is not the mechanism. Just because a large dust cloud isn't going to be able to effectively feed the white dwarf. But if the white dwarf spirals in with another star, the two of them can merge into a new star that happily functions like a star. We don't know entirely what the story is on blue stragglers, or at least we didn't last time I looked, which was admittedly a year ago. And so it's possible that blue stragglers are exactly this kind of scenario.
Right. The thought is the blue stragglers are stars that have collided in a cluster,
Yeah,
and they turn into blue stars.
yeah.
Jessica Traniger asks, Pamela's thoughts on carbon capture.
I think that it is our last best hope to not having badness before 2050. And it may be our last best hope for not having badness, period, if we can get really darn good at it. But we need to start yesterday. Go ahead.
Oh, did you see Cool World's video on this, like
No,
today?
I didn't.
Yeah. So they did the math
Uh-huh.
and looked at, is like they came at it from the second law of thermodynamics and said, like, what is the, if you had a 100% perfect methodology for capturing carbon dioxide out of the atmosphere, how much energy would it require? And it's a lot.
Yeah.
Like, even if you like the very limit, it's an enormous amount.
Yeah.
But the most effective method that we have today is about like 7.5% conversion rate of energy efficiency. And so you would end up needing, like, if it was perfect, then you would need only like, I forget, like 3% of the US's entire energy budget to do the carbon capture. But because it's not perfect, it's more like you're going to need half of its energy budget to do carbon capture. And so, but his conclusion in this is that it is sort of, it's all about how much per year, if assuming you do stop, then it's all about how much per year you can pull back out of the atmosphere to pull back from the overcorrection. And so if you only pull 1 billion tons a year out of the atmosphere, or 500 million, that's better than nothing, right? Than it just sitting there and taking a long time to come out of the atmosphere.
And one of the things that really excites me about the technology that they're developing is, like, on the way to carbon capture in China, they developed these structures that pull in the air and convert all of the particulate matter in the air that shouldn't be there into compressed objects. And they were actually, like, basically making gems and stones and stuff out of all the stuff they were pulling out of the air. So this isn't going to only help with greenhouse gases. This is also going to help with all the other stuff that human beings are very good at lofting skyward.
And there are other ideas as well. I mean, obviously, like, trees only get us so far. Like, trees,
algae.
like you would have to, like, fill up all of the arable land with trees to capture, like, significant amounts of carbon. So that's not going to work. One idea that I've heard is and this came from Casey Hanmer, and he was saying, like, you could take a volcano, you take a mid-sized volcano, crush the whole thing up, throw it into shallow warm ocean, and it will pull carbon dioxide out of the ocean, and then it'll sink down to the bottom, and then you can throw more in, it'll pull more out, and you actually could with, like, one volcano crunched into rock, you could extract almost, me too, right? You could extract all the carbon dioxide. And so, like, the question we have to ask ourselves is, like, we know that there are ongoing expenses to rising temperatures. Like, I'm experiencing this here in British Columbia.
Yeah.
Right? My fire insurance has gone up. My like the trees are dying. Please, people in low-lying areas have to rebuild or have to armor the shorelines, and then
Yeah.
it just goes on and on, right? Us having to do additional desalination, us having as we adapt, there's so much stuff that we have to do, and these are all going to be expenses. And
Hmm.
so then you got to ask yourself, like, which of all the methods of potentially removing the carbon from the atmosphere is the one that's going to give you the decreased expenses? And so that overall you have to spend less money. Like, this is a financial transaction now, and you just have to decide which one you want to
Well,
do.
and there's another side to it too that isn't just the greenhouse gases when it comes to warming. The amount of energy getting released into the air from buildings with air conditioning, the amount of heat getting released into the air by OpenAI's data centers for processing the inputs for ChatGPT, the amount of heat getting released into the air by all the cryptocurrency. And these are all things that require electricity and generate heat. And so we need to figure out how to do everything we're doing while releasing less heat, allowing human beings to function, because the planet is literally too hot for human beings in several places periodically now. And we have new enemies. I do not like. I do not like.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so that's it. So it's like it's literally just a financial calculation at this point,
Yeah.
and you just have to decide. You have to look at it scientifically, and go from there. So, but I find it exciting. Like, I personally find coming up with solutions to complicated problems really interesting and quite exciting. And it's sort of like the universe today is all about
Yeah.
people coming up with clever ideas to problems, and I
Yeah.
love to report on that kind of thing. And so I want them to be scientifically valid. The engineer in me wants people to do things that make sense. Like,
Yeah.
things like solar roads do not make sense,
No, but they're
but
pretty.
things like restarting
Yeah.
nuclear plants do make sense.
Yeah,
So
and there's some things I love. I can't remember which country it was, put solar panel covered bike paths between the two directions on their highways. So this was otherwise wasted space anyways. Great place to put bike trails. And by putting the solar panels above, you are protecting the bicyclists from the sun. And I still feel that the air is probably not the best, but everything else about this idea, just maybe implement it more places than between the highways. Yeah.
but like, that seems less of a good idea than just having a dedicated solar plant somewhere that's only job is that it's got good accessibility. You can drive your truck in, you can swap out parts. It's built at an industrial scale. It's designed to bring down the costs as low as humanly possible, and not
Yeah.
try to integrate it into some existing bike trail. Like, imagine you can try to maintain that. Are you gonna drive a specially built truck down your bike trail to maintain the solar panels, to fix wiring problems? So that's like,
This is where
whenever I
we
see that
learn he's the engineer and I just write software.
whenever I see that kind of stuff, like, just my brain just goes like, is that it's cool, but it's maybe not the most effective solution to the problem. So that's what I tend towards is, like, right now, the cost of renewable stuff like solar panels, wind farms are so low, and they're going down. Like,
Yeah.
they're sucked into the Moore's law decrease in price so fast that you literally now have to hate money. Like, you have to want to burn money to build a coal plant or build
Yeah.
anything other than a solar farm.
I
And
I hope they find better ways to store the electricity because current batteries are still where the price sucks. And so the question starts to be, how do we better store electricity?
yeah, yeah. I mean, but like, as we encounter the problem with more granularity,
Yeah.
with better resolution, then the solutions to the problems make a ton of sense.
Yeah.
And so you have things like the most effective battery is pumping water up a hill to
Yeah.
a reservoir that is higher than lower one. and then you let the water pour back down. So when you have additional electricity, you just pump the water up, and then the water comes back down.
Yeah.
Those
Yeah.
are very effective and
Yeah.
very inexpensive, and they store way more energy at a vastly cheaper price than a
These are the
you know
solutions I want. More of this,
yeah
please.
the simple solutions. And so I think like
Mm-hmm.
always there's like this instinct to go, oh, here's a bunch of really cool ideas, let's look at those really cool ideas. Like, wouldn't it be cool if you're like riding your bicycle along and you're in the shade, and
And your
but
mic just did the thing it does periodically, and you got much quieter.
my screen went dead, or my screen went to its screensaver, and I wonder if that causes the problem. That's interesting. How dumb is that?
Yeah.
Anyway,
Yeah.
I like it's also kind of weird to me, right? Like I love to see advances in technology across every field,
Mm-hmm.
from artificial intelligence to computing to rocketry to cars, and to like, wouldn't it be amazing if we lived on this planet in a way that we were improving the soil health, we were having increased biodiversity, that we were having nice dark skies, that we didn't have to suffer from air pollution, that you could have all, but also have a modern society. And the only way we're going to get through that is with technology.
Yeah. Yeah. I have cranked your volume up on my end. Too far. Sorry,
Okay.
audience. I'm working to fix
Sorry about
this.
that. Yeah. And I think like, and it's weird. And like, I think it's weird to me that people don't want to have, say, cleaner air, that they don't want to have to not breathe air pollution and get rises in asthma or what have you, right?
Yeah.
And it's very bizarre to me that it has become, and like, it's understandable that it has become a social political fight between people, because there's ones that were unambiguous. Like, we don't have a big political fight over the ozone hole. It just, people recognized that it was a problem. Legislation was put in place to ban certain chemicals that were causing the ozone hole to increase, and now the ozone hole is decreasing, and we should see a decrease of risks from solar radiation based on that.
Yeah.
Wow.
Thank God.
It's weird to me that people have political fights about this kind of stuff. Like, at the end of the day, shouldn't we just have scientists investigate the problem?
Mm-hmm.
And here's what really grinds my gears.
Okay.
It's when people say, well, I don't trust the science. Right? And so, like, what's the answer to you don't trust the science? Let's imagine there was something where you didn't agree with the outcome that the scientists were saying was happening. What would be your recommendation?
Mine?
Study it. Have scientists study the problem. Okay, great. So now we have new scientists are going to go in, and they're also going to find the same thing, because that's how science works. Okay, great. So now you've got 100 scientists you sent in, and you don't trust the science. Okay, what do you want to do? You want to send another 1,000 in? Okay, great. 1,000 scientists. They come up with the same thing. Now what? Right? Like, this is the problem with people trying to engineer doubt. This was the genius of the tobacco industry, who said, whoa. What we need is more science. The science is unsettled. What we need is to go take a deeper look. Let's find out. Like maybe it's a problem, but why don't we? But let's not take any action right now. Let's just study the science a little more.
Yeah.
And then you'd spend 20 years while people are getting cancer, and it's the same playbook. Whoa. Science isn't settled. Whoa. Wait a minute. Let's study this some more. Like, what about this weird little data blip over here?
Yeah.
Compared to the mountains of data. Anyway, there you go. So I'm off my rant. Where were we? What are we talking about? Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
This is the sigh of someone who, every time I see a new climate change story, it's because there's some variable we didn't account for that accelerates the problem. And he has somehow trained the algorithm to give him the solutions instead of the problems. I need to retrain my algorithm.
Well, I guess, like, I'm purposely looking for solutions to problems all day long.
Yeah.
And so like we just did an episode of Space Bites, our news segment, and I was
Mm-hmm.
like, 2023 was the hottest summer on record. That's it,
Yeah.
right? I sort of took a playbook from what you said, right? Like, there's no good news. That's it.
No.
Like, moving on. Next story. Um,
Yeah.
so, but I find, like, even if there wasn't climate change, I would find the development of new technologies exciting that would allow us to remain in balance on planet Earth. Because there are all of these issues: air pollution, soil degradation, goes on and on and on, right?
Yeah.
And like, people are studying each one of these things: habitat loss of biodiversity, etc.
Yeah.
People are studying all these things, and the scientists are
Southern
just saying,
white
like, here's the
rhinos are
problem.
doing fine.
Oh, great. And people say,
Northern,
here's the
not so
problem.
much. Southern white rhinos are doing fine.
Yeah. And so I think I know a little bit about the psychology of this, I think. And it's sort of similar to veganism. People hate
That was
vegans.
not what I was expecting.
I know. People hate vegans, right? It's like, why like when I tell people that I'm a vegan,
That's
and
new.
I don't, no, I've been vegan for, my wife's vegan.
Okay.
Have you seen Pulp Fiction?
Yes.
Yeah,
That's true.
yeah. Wife's a vegetarian, so that pretty much means I'm a vegetarian too. So
Yeah.
I don't. And so when a person tells you they're vegan, like, how does it like, how do you know a person goes to CrossFit or they're vegan? Like, they won't shut up about it anyway. But most people, vegans,
Yes.
they hate them, right? And like, why? Why do people hate vegans? Even though they say, if a person says nothing, right? If you just like mark a checkbox and you say you don't eat meat, right? If you're at like a dinner and you say, would you like to eat this steak? You say, oh no, sorry.
The
I'm
reason
vegan.
they hate them is they don't want to be proselytized.
What if they're not getting proselytized?
I think that like all the other vegans have ruined it for you.
I think it causes cognitive dissonance in people.
Really?
Can I eat your dog?
No.
Why not?
Well, first of all, eating carnivores is gross.
Is it?
Yes. I don't want to
Okay.
be that many steps down the food chain.
So what about fish?
Well, I generally can't eat fish. But again, if
What about
you're
chicken?
eating carnivores, I eat chicken all the time. They're assholes. They deserve it.
This is Chicken Hill, and the chickens know what they did. Yeah, like it caused a cognitive, like, no, I can't eat your dog, right? I can't eat your dog because it's wrong to eat dogs. Why is it wrong to eat dogs? Because dogs are our buddies. Pig is as smart as a dog. It's wrong to eat pig.
Yes.
So I think it caused like, it makes a person feel uncomfortable,
Mm-hmm.
and if they feel uncomfortable, then they lash out. And it's the same thing about talking about an atheist, right? If you say you're an atheist, then some version of society is not into that. Like, atheists are like less likely to be voted, or something like the
Yeah.
most hated social group in the US, or something like that.
Really?
Right? Yeah, totally.
Okay.
Like, people are least likely to vote for an atheist. And so
My
I think,
social group is clearly
I
not
know.
mainstream, which I kind of knew.
Yeah. Well, of course.
Yeah.
So I think that we just have, like, I think that whenever we encounter something that makes us angry, I think it's really important to just investigate your feelings.
Yeah.
That sounds like a therapy session, right? And you're like, why do I feel so mad about this? Right? Why am I angry about this? And it could well be that the person is doing something horrible, right? But it might be that people are, that you're experiencing some kind of cognitive dissonance in your brain, and then you're lashing out. So, So that's, and I think that's what happens with, like, when a person says, I'm concerned about climate change, or climate crisis, it's a new word, I think. We then go, am I doing, like, should I be? Am I doing, am I a bad person? Are you saying I'm a bad person? You're saying I'm a bad person. I hate you. Right? Like, whoa, 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 whoa. Wouldn't it be cool if we could breathe fresh air? Wouldn't it be cool if I got a glacier above my city
Yeah.
forever? Wouldn't it be cool if, like, tires cause air pollution? Well, I guess they always did.
They also deeply affect those of us with latex allergies.
Yeah, you're breathing in
Yes.
latex. You're walking along breathing it. Is there
Yeah.
a way to solve that problem? Wouldn't it be cool? Like,
Yeah.
have you been to Europe and ridden around on the trains?
Yes. It's
They're
lovely.
amazing.
Yeah.
Like, there's no reason to not want that, or ride your bicycle around in Amsterdam
Yeah.
and just
Amsterdam's a bit scary. Go to like Utrecht.
fine. Yeah, some small town, Netherlands, where you ride your bicycle around and you go to the grocery store and you ride home and
Yeah.
everyone's out and about. They take their dogs into restaurants.
Yeah.
And it's fun. Yeah. And so I think, like, self investigation, I think, is always really important. Like, when I feel irritated about something, I often will. There, screen just went dead. Tell me if that changed
It
levels.
did.
It did.
Yeah.
Okay, there it is. All right, so that makes sense, right? That when your screen turns off, your microphone gimps. Okay. All right. So we've got some questions here that have nothing to do with. Oh, great. We're having a argument in the comments, and I say that ironically. Hal McKinney asks, is Earth's pre-moon collision form still referred to as Earth?
Yes. We're weird.
So Earth was Earth before Theia crashed into Earth?
Yes.
Hal McKinney also asks, how similar do you think life evolving on distant planets with similar starting conditions to Earth would be?
Say that again?
How similar would life evolving on distant planets with similar starting conditions to Earth be?
No idea. We don't understand how many things. So we know crabs are like the ultimate endpoint of evolution. Evolution will develop crabs if left alone on our planet multiple times in multiple ways. Crabs, endpoint of evolution.
Yeah.
But looking back, advanced life has evolved multiple times. Large life has evolved multiple times. And each time it's taken a slightly different format where a lot of the structures get reused from time to time, but we don't know how much of that is driven by the first generation of life with flagella that happened to have come about on our world versus that is just what always happens on all worlds. We need more worlds before I can answer that question. Too little data.
But we do have energy in, radiation out. We work from the same toolkit of molecules.
Yeah, yeah.
Gravity will be a force that pulls things down. And so it doesn't seem surprising that you would see something that kind of looks like a tree.
Right, right. So structurally, there's certain things that consistently seem to arise. And that is you have either so internal structures for larger creations are far more effective than external structures. So we tend to end up with large things with internal structures that are warm-blooded. That seems to be a preferred format. Beyond that, all bets are off.
Yeah.
I really think that we never ended up with advanced squid or octopus, advanced cephalopods, simply because there are limits on what you can do with a life that short and a structure that easily destroyed.
Marina R asks, do planets become stars someday?
No, that direction does not seem to happen.
No. No, I mean, like, people always ask, like, is Jupiter a failed star? Only if
No,
you
you would
find
have to multiply it
77,
by a factor of 80.
yeah, 80 more Jupiters and crash them into Jupiter, and then Jupiter could become the smallest possible star.
But with only 1/80th of Jupiter, that is not something you still call Jupiter. That is
Yeah, yeah,
a pile of
right.
Jupiters.
Yeah, like one of your dogs become Clifford the Big Red Dog?
No.
Only if you mashed 80 of your dogs together and painted it red.
All of those things would end poorly.
Googler asks, if we find life on Mars, how could we know that it didn't come from Earth 2 billion years ago and evolve further on Mars?
We can't. That's cool.
Yeah, I mean, the way we can find out is that if we do find life on Mars, then we can chase the genetic trail back to the source and find out,
Well,
do they share a
so
common ancestor?
so the thing is, we're starting to think that life may have evolved multiple times on our planet, and there was the era of the squishy-bodied things that we don't have DNA from. So if it's something from the era of the squishy-bodied things, no idea. If it's a stromatolite that we can somehow get DNA from, and we can't do that from fossils that are solidified with rock. I mean, at a certain point, the question becomes, did stromatolites evolve on both worlds? Did they get here from there? Did they get there from here? How was Venus involved? It was an ocean world at that point, too. These are cool things. I wish I knew answers. I don't, and it's the fact that I don't that keeps me reading papers.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And I mean, really, one of the greatest reasons why we need that Mars sample return mission, why we need to send astronauts to Mars, is to
Yeah.
try and find a life form on Mars. And if we do try to do genetic analysis to find the common ancestor, that would be
Yeah.
so great. So now I know I have to jiggle my mouse on a regular basis. I can't just back and chat with you. I have to actually make sure that my screen never goes blank.
It's true. It's true.
I think those are all the questions that we had. Brooke Mulgata says, anyway, Pamela, just to let you know, ever since I started following your astronomy cast since 2011, I never had the opportunity for a telescope back in Ethiopia. Moved to Canada and immediately got in contact with local amateur astronomy club. Had my first party a few weeks ago, and the first thing I saw was Saturn, almost cried.
That is the appropriate reaction.
That is the feeling that we all had.
Yeah. Yeah.
The more we loved space when we first looked through a telescope and saw Saturn.
Yeah.
Oh man, like talk about like the most concentrated happiness machine you can possibly build is setting up a Dobsonian telescope outside some public
Yeah.
event and then just inviting people to come and look at Saturn for the first time.
This is totally true.
You just I don't know if you're like you watch What We Do in the Shadows.
Not yet. It's on my list of things
Okay.
I'm going to
All
watch.
right. Well, so there's an energy vampire in What We Do in the Shadows where, he tries to annoy you and enrage you.
I
and
watched the first
please.
episode. I saw that. It's
Right.
excellent.
Yeah,
Yes.
exactly. So, but imagine the opposite, right? If you
Yeah.
feed on other people's joy and happiness, like if their joy and happiness makes you stronger, then being around and enabling people to look through a telescope and see Saturn for the first time is just the best experience. Like, is this real? Can I see it? This is crazy,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So I think it's amazing. Was there anything else or should we wrap things up? Okay, so we're going to do another episode in a couple of days, maybe Wednesday, and we will talk then.
Okay. Thank you, everyone, for being here with us. Thank you for putting up with all of the technological chaos. We will work on it.
Yeah.
And we will see you probably Wednesday. Watch our social media. And if you're a Patreon, we'll just let you know on Patreon. So another reason to join Patreon. Even $1 a month makes a difference. So thank you.
Right. We will see you all in a couple of days. And also, I'm going to be doing my live show tonight. So if you haven't already, make sure you come back in about 5 hours. We'll see you then.
All right. See you
Bye,
all
everybody.
later. Bye-bye.